Welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and man, it feels good to be back. Have you missed me? I had to take a sabbatical from recording my podcast to give birth to my son, Finley, who is turning 2 years old on Saturday, and to allot the time needed to adjust to that new motherhood period of my life. So I feel now 2 years postpartum, I'm starting to get into a groove where I can return to my mission of empowering women regarding the perinatal phase of their life and help to share the wisdom from the guest speakers that I'll be bringing on to the show. All the wonderful information and education that's available regarding holistic fertility, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. And parenting certainly will become a stronger part of my podcast as well. So it feels great to be back behind the microphone, and I am really excited for y'all to see who will be coming on in the next weeks and months ahead, as I have a renewed energy and focus of the purpose of my podcast and how I can really impact the lives of a lot of women and their families. So let's talk a little bit about my experience becoming a well-adjusted mama and what that has meant to me. So if you've listened to my podcast for years, you know that this is a topic that I'm passionate about. It's certainly my purpose. However, when I started the podcast, I was not yet a mother myself. And it always felt a little paradoxical. But I also knew that it was time for me to start getting out there. And I had amazing resources that I was able to access through the guests that I brought on the show, and to really pull out, I felt like, nuggets of valuable information that would resonate with the women listening to this podcast. So here I am now, a new mom myself, and I'm excited to share that the information that I've learned over the years as a maternity and pediatric chiropractor, someone really passionate about supporting the natural process of pregnancy and birth, I was able to utilize that information in my own life and really have what I would consider an amazing pregnancy. I really enjoyed being pregnant. I had a beautiful home birth in the water, and I have this healthy, happy son who is just a bundle of joy and energy. He keeps me on my toes, and I am constantly learning, growing, and evolving because he's in my life. And I feel very blessed for that. So it's powerful now being on the other side of the birth process, and really the amount of growth that occurred while I was going through that journey myself, right? And I feel like now I'll have even a more specific insight as I'm interviewing future guests that will be coming on the show about what women are looking for and needing to hear, and what support is most needed. And because that's what's really come up for me personally, is how much support is really required for a woman in the perinatal phase of her life. I have felt it, at the depth of my bones, of just how intense the process is. And the more support I receive, the more support I allow, the more I can be present in the moment, the more I can feel alive and I can feel connected, and really appreciate this time period of my life. I think it's also recognizing that life is finite and we're constantly changing and evolving, and we're going through different periods of our life, and that will be ongoing for the rest of our life. So when I'm in a phase that might feel particularly challenging or difficult, I want to take an opportunity to recognize that, number one, it's temporary. Nothing lasts forever, terrible twos included. And I want to be able to see the beauty at this present moment in my life wherever I'm at, and appreciate it, because it will change and it will be different. And, for example, I can reflect back to those newborn days that were full of sleep deprivation and, just all these new challenges of learning how to mother for this tiny little baby, and all the emotions that went along with that. And, now looking at my son, who's this active toddler boy, and be like, oh my God, I remember when he was this tiny little newborn, that was just, cuddling up against my chest. And, like how that phase was so beautiful despite the intensity. And now we're in a different phase, and this phase will also be temporary. So that's some of the wisdom that's come up for me recently that I wanted to put out there in my podcast. And just to share, I think the other thing that's come to the forefront of my mind is recognizing the importance of community and finding your tribe. And so I'm very hopeful with the relaunch of Well-Adjusted Mama that I can continue to grow our tribe, grow our community, so that we're having a larger impact and just helping to bring more support. I think that's the bottom line, through the community, having women feel heard and respected and appreciated. So what's come up for me too is that when I'm on, I'm doing my recordings, I'm here having a blast, but I sometimes feel like an island. I feel like, is anyone out there? Is anyone listening to this podcast? Is anyone, getting value? And then I have women coming into my office that live locally that are like, oh, I've listened to your podcast, and, this episode was amazing. And oh my God, I learned this from this person. And they're sharing with me the value they've received. So, I just would like to, ask my listeners if there's something relevant that's coming up for you that you would like to hear on a future episode. If there's a specific guest speaker you think would be a great fit for the podcast. And if there's just an episode that really resonated with you, that helped give you support in a dark period, if there was something that just was an aha moment that you had while listening to the podcast, I really want to hear that feedback. I'm craving hearing from my listeners and knowing how I can support you at a deeper level. And also, what are we doing well? How have the episodes that you've listened to previously been able to make a positive shift in your life? So I feel like that's something that I want to know more about. And it's always wonderful when I get, some of that feedback, but it's been few and far between. So please, give me feedback, give me ways to help me serve better as the Well-Adjusted Mama podcast host. And with that, I'm going to stop recording.